Last phase of the program, more dynamic movements, more explosive movements. We're going to be doing alternating split squat jumps, loaded hip extensions, maybe even leading up to a kettlebell swing, and also mountain climbers progressing in your time on that one. Also recommend 3 days a week for these. Split squat jump. So what this is going to help do is provide a little bit of that conditioning into it, but also help provide a little more power emphasis into this movement. So split squat stance, which is taking that big step back with the leg, okay? Still feeling that stretch in the hip flexor. Your arms to help swing and provide momentum, so that way she is able to jump off the ground. Once she gets up in the air, she's going to switch her stance in mid-air, and then while she's in mid-air, she's going to actually land, absorbing the force onto the ground with her hands coming back. Here we go, ready? And go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Big split stance again, okay? Here we go. We're gonna have you start with your arms off to your side, so that way you can get that swing to execute the movement. Here we go. We're gonna go another 10 seconds, and 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. A loaded hip extension, many names to this one: hip thrust, glute bridge, a hip thrust. Have a seat on the bench. And then from here, she's gonna use her arms and kind of shimmy her way forward, bending her knees and having her upper back the bench here. So the starting position here, it looks like this. So you can have your butt on the ground, feet stance about shoulder to hip width apart, wherever it's comfortable, knees and toes straight ahead, hands out on the bench here for balance. And then from here, she is going to extend her hips all the way up, so that way she creates like a table with her body. Have a good hip extension by squeezing your glutes as hard as you can. You gotta extend your hips up as high as you can go. So while you're doing that, just make sure that you are noticing that you want to have a neutral spine coming down into the movement and coming up into the movement. We don't want to see too much of an arc in the lower back, because that can actually irritate the lower lumbar spine. We want to extend up with the glutes, big squeeze, very good, coming right back down. How about one more? Coming up, big squeeze, come right back down, and then you can just sit down on the ground to relax from there. A modification that you can do with this movement is actually on the ground. This is called a regression. So kind of like it's the movement that leads up into the main movement. So from here, go ahead, lie down on the ground. Okay, you're gonna be on the ground for this, flat on the ground. Okay, same exact position with her arms. We're gonna be out to her side with her palms facing down for balance. If you prefer to have your hands to your side, that's okay as well. Preference at this point. So from here, load can be optional to have to be on her hips. You can be holding on your hips here. But for the movement purpose, we have the same stance. What we're gonna do is extend her hips up, pushing through the middle of her foot, locking out in her glutes all the way up. Now when you lower down on this one, you don't want to lower down to where your butt is touching the ground. You want to have at least about an inch or two above the ground, so that we always have consistent tension throughout the range of motion. So go ahead, lift up as high as you can, good squeeze, coming down. There you go, go upward. Good, have that be 3, go ahead. 4, one more. All the way up, maintain that neutral spine as she's coming up, and 5, relax. If you do have access to a kettlebell, this is a good progression movement from the hip extension and also from the floor. This is a little more on the power side, so more explosiveness in the hips, which will allow more output in your running. So for the most part here, the way to set up to get into a kettlebell swing is actually having your kettlebell set up a couple feet in front of you. So from here, Olivia, go ahead and actually have a couple feet back. Estimate that as best you can. Okay, right about there. What she's gonna do is that she's gonna bend at her knees, kind of squat down into her hips, so that way she can grasp the kettlebell with an overhand grip. And then from that position, she's gonna start by swinging the kettlebell with a straight arm right in between her legs here, kind of like you're hiking a football. And then from here, she's going to, so go ahead, we're gonna actually go step by step with this one, because this is a big dynamic movement. So in a step-by-step process, swinging back here, and then from here, you're going to use your hips to extend your arms and the weight forward to swing and propel the weight all the way up to about your chest level. So in full speed, go ahead, Olivia, show them in full speed here. Swinging through, good. 2, let's get 5. Notice that when she gets all the way up into that extension of her hips, it's propelling that weight up to about her eye level, and she's locking out her glutes here, so that way you can get that force and that power to propel the weight up. Good, relax. So the biggest mistake we commonly see with this is using too much of your upper body. So the focus of this movement is hips. All right, so think when you're doing this movement that you are extending your hips forcefully through your arms. You don't want to stand up and lift with your shoulders, okay? It's not an arm movement. We want to focus on your hips on this movement. Shooting mountain climbers, the only difference is everything's the same. The only difference is we're going to increase the amount of time that you are going to be doing that movement. So that quadruped position, hands and knees, extend your knees out, toes on the ground with contact, very good. Now from here, driving her knee up to her chest as best she can, rapid fire, and we're going. There we go. So in this case, we go 15 seconds more compared to ones I was doing before. That's how we would increase your duration on this movement. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and time. Good. And let's go 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, time.